55 past the hour, a team of filmmakers capturing the night sky over California. They get an unexpected bonus. You look closely, you're going to see a meteor explode. Boom! Just like that.
There it is. Oh, it's 1 second. You got to replay it, and you got to watch right in the center. Do you see it there? Look in the center. There it goes. Slow-mo. Ready. Here, there it is. Do you see it?
Okay. It's a bright flash that lit up the ground and a large streak of burning dust.
They say it took about 10 or 12 minutes for the reddish debris to drift to Earth. Meteors often explode because of the resistance when they smash into the atmosphere.
Hey, now here's a reminder that winter's never quite far away. A July snowfall in the northern Rockies on Monday. Blame a freak cold front dropping out of Canada. Normally don't see this type of front until late August.
Yeah, snow came down to about 6,000 feet in Big Sky. Same story also in Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
More than an inch of snow falling on the popular ski resort. Overnight temperatures expected at or near freezing. Folks already lining up for the ski lifts.
They actually have tours I read about. I forgot, I think it was in Big Sky, where they had to shut the tours down because of all the snow that was falling there. So no snow to worry about yet here throughout the upper Midwest. Temperatures into the 70s to start off the day. We have this little blip of energy that's going to cause perhaps some rain, maybe a little bit of hail and wind, but nothing that is going to be mind-blowing. Otherwise, Chicago, you're going to be in the 80s. Detroit, you'll be into the upper 80s. The Northeast, our big story here, we are cranking up the heat. I mean, it's going to take two hands to twist the thermometer to get that hot air coming on in. All right, so our temperatures into the afternoon hours into the 90s, and it's going to be sticking around. Lower portions of the U.S. into the south central region, we will see ample sunshine here. No rain to speak of, especially into Texas, which is great news. Southern Plains looking pretty good, and into the southeast, more of the same. Florida seeing your storms and just hazy, hot and humid yet again. Another good old summer day.
Yeah, I mean, it's the time of year, so we got to expect this. Well, it's been more than 140 years since the first hot dogs were sold on Coney Island right here in New York City.
Since then, a lot of other cities have claimed the titles of the world's best hot dog. I don't know, Chicago, they're known for their dogs.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know, it might go back farther than Coney Island, I don't know.
I don't know. You know what, a good hot dog on a summer day is hard to beat. We'll have the best places to grab the summer staple and where to stay after you eat that dog, after your local weather on the 8th.
Oh.
Hopefully, the lanterns will fly far enough that they'll be able to see them and just know that we're still looking for them.
This morning on Wake Up With Al, friends and family holding a vigil for two missing Florida teens. We have the very latest from the Coast Guard on day 4 of this search.
9 million people under the threat for severe weather, from showers to thunderstorms to the possibility of tornadoes. We're timing out when these storms will be at their worst.
And hold on tight, an extreme wipeout during the extreme sailing competition. It's the video everyone will be talking about right here, right now on Wake Up With Al.
Live from New York and the heart of Rockefeller Center, it's Wake Up With Al with Al Roker and Stephanie Abrams.
Good Tuesday morning to you, July 28th, the power hour of Wake Up With Al.
We are continuing to follow the developing story out of Florida on the missing teens and the storms that could hamper the search efforts. But first, we're going to start with your top 3 weather stories.
All right, here we go. Everything you need to know as you head out the door. These Florida storms are just continuing, especially along the west coast of Florida, where over the next few days, 3 to 5 inches of rain, but into the weekend, some areas could see up to 10 inches. We've also got a northeast heat wave starting to bubble up. We're looking at temperatures today that start off in the 90s and they last right on into the weekend as well. And Midwestern storms are firing up. We're already seeing some strong storms making their way into western Minnesota. There'll be another batch moving through later on this afternoon. Steph.
We want to take you now into Florida, where we have been getting hit with a lot of heavy rain. Pasco County, just north of Tampa, people still cleaning up from the flooding that swamped the area over the weekend. This is where we've seen some 8 to 12 inches of rain. The county ordered the evacuation of some 300 residents, but only a handful of people left. Those who stayed were surprised by the amount of rain that they've seen.
Usually you get 3 or 4 days of tropical depression, then it moves on. This just keeps coming. I mean, it seems like it's just stuck. Rain, rain, rain.
Can't stop, won't stop. The rain in the forecast for the next 10 days. People are starting to stock up on sandbags of anticipation of more of that. All right, let's have a look at the storms right now. And again, there's a little bit of a spin in the atmosphere. We have this overall, this big area of rotation in the atmosphere. Low pressure is going to want to go to low pressure, and there's been kind of a stationary front hanging here, so it's all essentially right around this big section, and this is going to continue to ride off to the north and also the east. There's also some pretty good wind shear here, so it's surprising that we're getting that little spin in the atmosphere. That will kind of move away, but at least the moisture today, it's not going to be as abundant. We will see just kind of hit and miss showers through the day today. So there's that little spin. You can see the counterclockwise flow there. And when you have a counterclockwise flow, you have the winds coming in at the surface, they go up, and then they go out in the upper layers, and that's what causes that spin and that lift in the atmosphere. But you can see the rain is not as abundant today than it has been, which is the good news. So through Thursday, it looks like right around Gainesville, that's where we'll see some storms for all of my Gators up in there. Otherwise, around the Tampa Bay area, it's not as bad. And remember, we have the sandy soil, so it's going to drain out quick. Unfortunately, it's summer, so a lot of people are doing vacationing. The worst of the drought is into southeastern Florida, really the east side, and of course, we're getting it all on the west side, right? Tampa hourly forecast shows that we will see more showers and thunderstorms, and you will see bits of sunshine with that as well. Plenty of sunshine in the northeast and plenty of heat. Roker has more on that.
And humidity as well. Good morning, Philadelphia. You're already at 76 degrees. We're going to be looking at a high of 92. Do you know the Philadelphia Stock Exchange was actually the first stock exchange in America, founded in 1790? I always thought it was, here in New York City. So you learn a little something new every day. All right, so your feels like temperature. By 3 o'clock today, it's going to be about 89 degrees, dew point of 69, making it feel like 95 degrees. So we're watching this very closely. Right now, 66 in Binghamton, 67 Buffalo, 70 in Boston, and Washington, D.C. at 77. But then look at these dew points. They're very close to the actual air temperatures. And you know what that means? It means it is humid out there. It is very close. So we've got the jet stream way up to the north. And so that allows all that warm air just to continue to make its way. There is nothing blocking it out. So we're looking at highs anywhere from 5 to 15 degrees above average from Pittsburgh, Burlington, Boston, down to Philadelphia. Today's high, 91 in New York. It'll feel like 93, 95 in Philadelphia, feel like 89 in Boston. Moving into tomorrow, it's going to feel like 97 in New York City and Philly and in Washington, D.C. And then as we make our way and show you Philadelphia, your average high, 87 degrees. And look at this. We stay into the low to mid 90s right on into Friday.
All right, let's get you up to speed on your morning headlines. A 14-year-old rushed to the hospital in Memphis after overheating during football practice. East High football players were dressed out in full gear for their first practice of the season when the boy felt lightheaded.
That's right. Paramedics quickly got him out of the heat into an air-conditioned ambulance. He's recovering, expected to be fine. Coach is taking precautions like cold towels, ice, and frequent breaks, making sure everybody stays safe.
Crews wrapping up the fight against a wildfire in Sacramento in Northern California. Reports say one home, 6 cars, and a tractor were destroyed.
Officials say police have taken a 25-year-old man into custody and will charge him with arson. Fire burning about 430 acres, fully contained now. Power, though, out to dozens of homes in the immediate area.
Roker, did you see that story over the weekend? I think it was in Idaho. There was a cyclist.
Yes.
Who, if you guys didn't hear the story, he went to the bathroom on the side of the road. These people do ultra marathons and cycling. You just have to go in nature, right? And I guess he burned his toilet paper, which I had never heard of.
Yeah.
Usually you just bury everything.
Well, bad move.
He burned the toilet paper and it actually started a fire. So note to self, just bury everything. I don't know about the rules that you have to burn. I've never heard of anyone burning toilet paper. Just go with the burying. All right, let's have a look at what we're going to deal with here into the Midwest. If you are doing any sort of cycling out here or maybe running this morning, we are going to see that sunshine. Guys, I think the wrong thing. Oh, you're going to move it for me. Okay, thanks. I didn't have an actual button to make it move, so I was like, I can't make it move. But magically, it's starting to move. Thank you for pushing the button. 90s, Des Moines down into Kansas City, so it's going to be hot. So if you're up now and you're thinking, oh, I'll just do it later, I don't feel like doing it now, you got to do it now because it's just going to be too hot to do it later, especially in St. Louis. 98 degrees, I should say, Al.
All right, Steph. Well, we've been covering this story all morning. 2 Florida teens lost at sea for days. Boat capsized Sunday. The latest on the massive search underway and why it's still being treated as a search and rescue. Ten minutes past the hour. Good morning, Minneapolis. You'll be hearing some rumbles of thunder as you head into work this morning, and it's probably going to look that way for most of the day. and into tonight.
Ooh, there it is. There it is. You see it in the background?
Yes.
We just saw what did we just saw? What was this last? I remember the exact last week.
Yeah.
We had the same thing. We had
Yep,
this
on
beautiful
Friday.
lightning. Was it Friday?
Yep.
Beautiful lightning in Minneapolis on the tower cam, and then you saw
Look
the
at that
radar.
second line behind
and
it.
there it is. So right, you're going to get hit with our first line, and then another line's going to come on through here. So rush hour is going to be a bear.
That's right. And you look at the severe thunderstorm outlook as you look at our live radar, but then the severe thunderstorm outlook.
Wow, 4,000
shows-
lightning strikes
that's
in the
pretty
last hour. That's
impressive.
pretty good.
We've got it from Minneapolis, Sioux Falls, I should say International Falls, Des Moines, all the way down into parts of Nebraska.
Omaha, yeah. All right, so here's a look at the storms through the day. They are going to be lasting, so this isn't the end of it.
All right, so it's been 4 days since these kids were last seen. The search for 2 missing Florida teens entering its crucial stage. Both sets of parents obviously still holding out hope that their sons will be found alive.
Joining us now on the phone is Chief Ryan Doss, Public Affairs Specialist of the U.S. Coast Guard. Chief, thanks for being with us this morning. You know, these kids have been out there since Friday. How many days, are we able to survive without food and water, with all of the salt water, potentially the jellyfish, and that sun beating down on them?
We've seen miraculous things out in this part of the country when it comes to surviving at sea. So we're still hopeful that, still actively searching, still very much focused on hitting the search area as hard as we can with as many resources as we can and doing everything we can to find these 2 young men out there.
Mr. Doss, here's the question. We got these ocean currents. You got the Gulf Stream. How far could they have drifted, and how do you factor that into the search effort?
Well, you've got the Gulf Stream that runs up the coast of the United States, so it's about a 5-knot current any given time of year, 3 to 5 knots. So, over a 24-hour period, you can easily travel. You start factoring in, close to 100 miles a day going north, just floating in that current. The thing that, of course, this time of year we have very warm waters, so you're talking about 85-degree waters, and the weather out there has been pretty good for the most part. There have been some isolated thunderstorms, but today we're looking at about 5-knot winds out of the west and 2 to 3 foot seas. So looking forward to favorable weather conditions out there today, and just keeping out a very diligent search effort.
Now, you guys fly pretty high in the air. What is the process? I mean, is this just a visual thing? Are you able to scan with, some sort of temperature-seeking instruments?
We've got a number of different tools at our disposal with the aircraft, even though they may be 1,000 feet up. Got some very good camera systems on board, able to see, zoom in down to being able to read what's on your shirt with these cameras. They also have able to see heat signatures, so infrared camera systems as well. So we're able to see things day or night from the air. And same aboard our cutters out there on the water. So, night vision capabilities for nighttime, some infrared camera systems on some of the newer cutters. And then, a lot of it does come down to, people standing up there, standing a very diligent watch and keeping an eye out on the horizon for anybody that may be out there.
All right. Well, U.S. Coast Guard Chief Ryan Doss, thanks for updating us. We appreciate it, and we'll check in with you in a little bit. Well, now for the weather those searchers are going to be facing today, we want to head to Jupiter, Florida.
Yeah, that's where Chris Warren joins us live this morning. And Chris, have you had a chance to talk to any boaters? I mean, we saw this ship was capsized. We, of course, have no idea what caused that yet.
Yeah, we have no idea what caused that for sure, Stephanie. But what we do know, at the time that the boaters went out Friday afternoon, there were some storms coming through. The National Weather Service putting out some special statements talking about the storms. Can't necessarily make that link, but we do know that happened at the same time. As Chief Doss was talking about, thunderstorms, a possibility, and a few showers. Generally pretty calm, though, on the waters. If we can show you the forecast, kind of get an idea of how things are going to develop throughout the day. We are going to be seeing some of those showers. Nothing, huge as we look at the high-resolution future radar right now. Most of the big action happening way offshore on either side of the coast. But you get up into parts of northeast Florida offshore where the big search efforts are really underway right now. And it's just going to be some of those hit and miss showers. But again, Alan, Stephanie, as Chief Doss said, that weather really not much of a factor for them in their search efforts.
All right, Chris Warren, thank you so much. Well, you've been seeing a haze across Florida this month. It actually could be Saharan dust from Africa.
Yes, and does that dust affect the hurricane season? We're going to talk live to NASA after your local on the 8s.
It's 20 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Checking out an amazing image from space. This NASA photo actually shows a plume of Saharan dust blowing off of North Africa into the Atlantic.
The Sahara is the third largest desert on the planet behind Antarctica and the Arctic, which I always think is so interesting that it's two cold regions that, you know, people don't necessarily think of deserts. Anyhow, hundreds of millions of tons of dust are transported across the Atlantic each year.
So this dust plays a big role in the beaches of the Caribbean and the air quality across North and South America.
Oh, it can get all the way over to the U.S. We've seen it. And also, what does it do for tropical development? We want to break this down, and we're joined live now via Skype. Jason Dunyan of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Jason, thank you for being with us this morning. You know, we've been talking about this for years and years and years, the Saharan dust, and what it means. Do we have any foregone conclusions now? Because people think it inhibits the development.
That's right. I mean, it's still ongoing research, but I think overall we've come to learn that parts of that Saharan air layer, those Saharan dust storms, actually are an inhibitor, like you're saying, with strong winds, very dry air. So everything a thunderstorm and hurricane doesn't like to see, these outbreaks actually have it.
So are you looking at a stronger flow of that dust this year than in years past? Exactly.
We've seen probably more dust this year than we have in the past 10 years or even longer. So there's something strange about this year as far as these outbreaks being fast and furious. They're coming off one after another, and they're huge. Yeah. They're the size of the lower 48 states.
Wow.
Any idea how El Nino is connected to these?
It's a great question. We don't know. We haven't been looking at this long enough. But what we're seeing is that they're coming together. We have these very strong winds blowing through the Caribbean with these dust storms, and we have these very strong upper-level winds that we tend to see with El Nino. So you put them together, and what we call the wind shear, which is able to kind of knock these storms apart, has been 2 or 3 times higher than what we would even call average. So it's been very hostile out there as this El Nino and these dust storms have kind of come together early in the season.
Okay, well, Jason, we appreciate it, and we'd love to talk more about this because I think it's really fascinating. Thanks so much, Jason Dunyan of NOAA.
You know, you get waves that come up, you get thunderstorms, we call them waves. You get thunderstorms that go across this area, and then they actually develop into tropical entities. We can talk more about that with actually a hurricane specialist, Michael Lowry.
That's right, he's here right now.
And, you know, Michael, if you have the dust coming off, you're obviously not going to have those thunderstorms, and that means you're going to have lower hurricane season also. That's another factor.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Stephanie, because the waves, those disturbances that push off the coast of Africa, they actually help to transport the dust. But the dust, in turn, can help inhibit the development. Let's talk about the Saharan air layer. I want to show you what it is. Really what's happening here over North Africa is you get this area of intense heating. Anytime you get heating down near the surface, that creates rising air, and you get what we call a thermal low, an area of low pressure, and that helps to suspend all of this Saharan dust, this particulate, these minerals into the atmosphere up to about 15,000 feet. And those disturbances, as they push off the coast of Africa, they actually help to bring the dust over the Atlantic Ocean, and sometimes that dust can make it all the way over here into the United States, and you can see the dust, the haze in the atmosphere here in parts of the eastern part of the United States. Really interesting stuff. Jason's one of my favorite researchers out there, and he's really the guy for Saharan dust. Let's talk about what's currently happening in terms of the dust. This is our water vapor picture, the amount of total water content in the atmosphere. Anywhere you're seeing the red colors, and especially up here, the purple colors, it's really off of our color scale. Very, very dry air, sinking air. That is the dust that's come off of Africa, pushing into the Atlantic. Although you have those disturbances coming off of Africa, the dust really going to prevent any development here over the next few days. Alan, Steph, back to you.
Michael, thank you so much. It'd be great if we had trading cards of scientists. That would be really terrific.
Those would be real popular.
Well, with summer in full gear, probably grabbing a hot dog at the ballpark or maybe your backyard.
That's right. Up next, we're going to tell you where you can get the best dogs in the country.
"29 minutes past the hour, Minneapolis lighting up this morning. Active thunderstorms. We've been watching it on this tower cam. At one point, we saw 4,200 lightning strikes in just 15 minutes.
Pretty solid stuff right there. That's only the first round of storms going through. Your rush hour, you could see more. Welcome back in. On this Tuesday, July 28th, this is Wake Up with Al.
All right, those storms over Minneapolis is one of the weather stories we're watching. Let's get you started with the top three, everything you need to know as you head out the door. Of course, these Florida rains continue to cause big problems. We could be looking at another 3 to 5 inches in the next couple of days, but by the weekend, some areas upwards of 10 inches of rain. Northeast heat wave just getting wound up. We're going to see temperatures up and down the eastern seaboard into New England, getting up into the upper 80s and low 90s. And we're going to see this going right on into the weekend as well. And those storms we were showing you in Minneapolis, well, look at what's going to be happening today. First one round this morning, then a second round later this afternoon on into this evening. And of course, we're all tracking Florida for a couple of different reasons.
Yes,
Steph.
of course, the boys that the Coast Guard continues to search for. We just spoke with the Coast Guard a little while ago, and they were telling us about all the infrared and also night vision that they have so they can look for the boys constantly. They said the storms across Florida aren't causing issues with their search, so that's the good news. We want to take you into Tampa, though, on the west coast of Florida. This is not near where the boys went missing. 81 degrees, you could see some clouds, and we actually have some showers just offshore of Tampa and also the St. Pete area. Lightning as well. So if you are thinking about heading to the beach this morning, maybe to do a little run, not the greatest day to do that. You can run in the rain, but when there's lightning, you can't. No, not a good idea. And lightning can travel up to 10 miles, so you've got to keep that in mind as well. So light rain right now around the Tampa Bay area. I don't think this will cause too many problems with flights because everything is just on the light side, but we do have a west wind at 16 miles an hour and a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, like, Abrams, it's the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, there's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. Well, it's always there, and sometimes the atmosphere is dry, and that's because we have different layers in the atmosphere, and we have to look at all these different layers. So yes, right at the surface where you have the Gulf of Mexico, you're going to have a lot of moisture all the time, right? So humid in Florida, but you could have dry air come in, say around the tomato layer, but we don't have that. Around the tomato layer, we actually have very wet air. So we do have a very moist atmosphere throughout the layers. And you know, in the water vapor imagery, when we show you that red shading that comes in, you could have that around the tomato layer, and you're not going to have as good of a chance of seeing rain. The more moisture through the atmosphere, the better chances, right? So today we do have those showers mainly along the west coast of Florida. That's where all our advisories are posted. And we're not going to see as much rain widespread across the state today. A few scattered showers in the southeastern portion of the state where we need it the most. And we will see that rain continue through our Thursday. And again, the highest totals right there on the west coast of Florida. You also have to watch out for rip current. I was mentioning we have that strong west wind, so that means winds are coming from the west pushing east, so that's why we do have this high rip current right here, especially off Clearwater Beach. Al, very popular beach.
That's right. Hey, we've been showing this picture for the last couple of months with the scaffolding.
Yeah.
But if you look closer, it's really kind of cute. It's almost, you see the workers all, I guess, getting started doing
You
their,
can actually see them moving?
yeah, there are folks
get,
up
like,
and over
really
here,
close
and
up.
yeah, you
I
have to
can't
get close up, but you can see them. They're climbing up the
yeah.
stairs. It's almost like ants working, you know, those little ant tunnels. It's very cool. That's really neat.
You got to get close to your TV to see
That's
it.
right. Bring a little magnifying glass. But I think that's pretty neat. Of course, you're going to have thunderstorms later today around lunchtime, clearing up, hooping up on the plaza, a hula hoop exercise class on Woodrow Wilson Plaza in Washington, D.C. All right. At 3 o'clock Washington, your air temperature 89, dew point 74, so that'll make it feel like it's 98 degrees out there. 90 plus degree days for New York. 2015 so far we've had 4 on average, 17, 27 on average in Philadelphia. We're about half that at this point. Washington, D.C., 36, so we're pretty close to that as we move along. Jet stream is way up to the north, so there's no impediment to that warm, moist air surging northward. So temperatures 5 to 15 degrees above average from Boston to Buffalo, down to Pittsburgh, and on down to Philadelphia. Look at temperatures for today. It's going to feel like 89 in Boston, 93 in New York City, 97 in D.C. Then for tomorrow, it feels like 92 in Boston, 97 in New York, Philly, and Washington. And as we move on into Thursday, 94 in Boston, the air feels like 99 in Philly, 104 in Washington, D.C. So it is going to be a warm one, and it really looks like it's going to last right into the weekend.
Yeah, it is for a while. Time now for your morning headlines. MSNBC's Melissa Rayberger is joining us live in studio. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning, everybody. A committee of outside attorneys will investigate the death of Sandra Bland. This announcement was made yesterday by a Texas prosecutor. There are many questions still surrounding Bland's death. Reports say she committed suicide in her jail cell on July 13th, 3 days after being pulled over for a traffic traffic violation. Yesterday, a toxicology report was released showing that marijuana was detected in Bland's system. The Boy Scouts of America voted to end its national ban on openly gay troop leaders and employees effective immediately. As part of the new policy, local scouting units, 70% of which are sponsored by religious organizations, can, quote, continue to choose adult leaders whose beliefs are consistent with their own. Even with that allowance, the Mormon Church, which is the country's largest sponsor of Boy Scout units, says it might leave. In Florida, a family struck gold, literally. They found $1 million worth of sunken Spanish treasure, including a rare royal coin. Some say it's worth $500,000.
Wow.
Now, that's a haul.
Let's go diving.
Heck yeah, right. I'm ready to get my
Fantastic.
scuba license right now.
Well, listen, well, thanks so much.
Thank
That's
you.
awfully cool. Arr, pieces of meat. Well, let's see what you get in the next 12 hours ahead and the day ahead.
All right, well, I'm going to give you a $500,000 forecast here for some of you, especially in places like Chicago. Beautiful weather, especially if you headed to the beach here. And it's really the lake, but people still call it the beach because it looks like a beach. But it's funny because being in Florida, a beach is a beach and the lake is a lake, right? Anyhow, here's a look at our forecast through the day today. We are going to see... But, like, what is the technical definition of a beach? Does it have to be on an ocean or just a body of water? How does that work
on
exactly?
a body of water, as long as you got, shoreline.
As long as you have sand, just sand makes it a beach?
No, because there are rocky beaches along New England's coastline.
Oh, that's true. No one knows. All right, nobody knows the answer. All right, so here's a look at Kansas City, 96 degrees as we head throughout the day today. Sometimes you just try to hang on. We're going to show you a boat that capsized.
Forty past the hour, Florida hit with heavy rain and flooding. No tropical system in sight. About 10 years since they were last hit by a hurricane.
We want to take you into Jupiter, Florida now. Chris Warren is joining us live. And Chris, a lot has changed since the 2004-2005 season in the way of tropical systems.
Yeah, Stephanie and Al, yeah, it's remarkable that it has been so long when you consider the fact that the previous streak was 1980 to 1984, so 4 years. So a lot has happened, a lot has changed, a lot of new people have moved to Florida, and it's possible a lot of people more complacent. We don't have storms, kind of get out of practice, get a little rusty. Let's take a look at what we're talking about here and give you an idea and try to put this into perspective of this and how long it's been. So remember that very busy couple of years there, 2004, 2005, 7 hurricanes hit Florida. And the last hurricane, Wilma, on October 24th, 2005, with winds up to 120, so Category 3. No hurricanes since Wilma. Again, that previous streak, 1980 to 1984. And one of the biggest differences, to try to put this into perspective of how things have changed and what we're dealing with, the hot phone was the Razr, the Motorola Razr. But this right here is what is interesting. Twitter, Instagram, and the iPhone did not exist. And that's important because we know the way storms are covered, the way storms are communicated has changed so much over the years. So, Al and Stephanie, we know that the next time, and it's a matter of when, not if, that next storm does make it here into Florida, the way social media works and the phones and everyone with cameras, it is going to be a completely different story. Hopefully, will also help get the word out that people need to evacuate when they're called to do so.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. Well, at 42 past the hour, heat's on again for our friends in Detroit. You got a sunny, hot day. Also a threat for some stormy weather.
Holy, beautiful sunrise, Detroit.
Yeah.
Look at the color. All right, so let's have a look at where we are going to deal with the storms. They're obviously not over Detroit right now, but they've been over Minnesota. We have a front that's coming through. We're clear in the eastern lakes, this western lakes, where we could see some problems. Again, Minneapolis, you're going to have a very wet commute.
That's right. As we track the storms for you, risk of severe weather today from Duluth all the way down into Omaha. And then for tomorrow, tonight I should say, it's still throughout much of Iowa on into northern Illinois, Chicago, and then tomorrow kind of peters out as we head on into the Midwest.
Well, we're entering the dog days of summer. What better way to enjoy them with, you know, an actual hot dog?
That's right. Sarah Spagnola, editor-at-large at Foursquare, the app that tracks trends in food, fashion, and fun, showing off the best places to grab a dog this week. So, Sarah, good to see you again.
Thank you.
That's the way I like my hot dog with onions on top. Let's head to Boston.
Boston, the first stop is Sullivan's. This is a landmark hot dog spot. In fact, July is hot dog month, so we're celebrating hot dogs all month long. Here you can take a look. It dates back into the 1950s. It's on Castle Island, which is in the Boston Harbor. This place is all about the snap, which is the bite of the casing in the hot dog. In fact, the purveyor they use also serves Fenway Park, so there's perfect pedigree with this hot dog. And if you're looking for a place to stay in Boston, the Seaport Boston Hotel is located also on the waterfront. That's why I chose it. Rates $239 a night. There's walking paths nearby. You can take a look at the ships and the sailboats. They also have an outdoor restaurant called Tamo, so you can take in the beautiful Boston air in the summer months. A great choice if you're looking for a Boston dog as well as a Boston hotel.
What makes a Chicago dog a Chicago dog? They're known for their hot dogs.
So they are, and
pizza,
this is the next one we're going to be talking about is from Portillo's, which is a local institution. In fact, there's 39 of them. The one that we're highlighting is in downtown on Michigan Avenue. Sorry, not on Michigan Avenue, but in downtown Chicago. We're going to talk about that later. So this is an all-beef patty on a steamed poppy seed bun with mustard, relish, chopped onions, red tomatoes, a pickle spear, and sport peppers. And that's what makes it a special Chicago dog. So again, at Portillo's, like the local chain, which actually started as a restaurant. I thought it was funny. It started as the Dog House.
There you go.
And there you go. And so now a new place to stay, the Chicago Athletic Association Hotel. This is a brand new property. What's amazing about this hotel is that it was started as the Chicago Athletic Association. It was always a place where people came together to celebrate, to play sports. They actually still have a racetrack and all sorts of bocce games and fun things to do, and a very hot rooftop restaurant called Cindy's. So this is the place to stay in Chicago starting now.
All right, Sarah Spagnola, thank you so much. You're looking at some great dogs, great place to stay.
Thank you.
All right, so folks taking cover when a large tornado hit southwestern Manitoba.
Yes, we are learning more about the damage that was done by this, and we'll have it for you after your local on the 8s.
Just about 50 minutes past the hour. Welcome back to Wake Up with Al. Tomorrow on the program, the 2016 election cycle is already in full gear. But how big a role will climate change play in the next presidential election? We've got some surprising poll results coming out of Iowa. Plus, Weather Geek Wednesday with our favorite .comer, Ari Sarsalari. Always Ari Sarsalari. But right now, Michael Lowry is tracking all the glory in the tropical update. Michael.
I'm done. I might as well just retire now. Thank you, Al. All right. How do I segue into this? Let's try. We have a tropical area of low pressure that is off the coast of Florida. This is one we've been watching now for a few days. It's a weak area of low pressure, though, and it brought a tremendous amount of rainfall to parts of western Florida, up to a foot of rainfall in some places. Thankfully, most of the rainfall today offshore. I'm not expecting any tropical development from this, and I'll show you why. If you look at the enhanced satellite picture, big blow-up of thunderstorms here, not too far from this area of low pressure, but the spin itself is actually to the northeast of where those thunderstorms are. Very strong winds at the upper part of the atmosphere, blowing those thunderstorm tops down to the southwest, keeping them from forming right over that area of spin. So we're not seeing the dramatic lowering of pressures because we're not seeing the thunderstorms developing right over the main core of the low pressure. What we will see, though, is an additional maybe 3 to 5 inches of rain here over the next few days. They don't need it. Certainly there in western Florida, where we could use it, is southeast Florida, but we're not going to get it there. Let's talk about what else is happening here in the tropics. A lot of activity here in the eastern Pacific Ocean. So we're going to spend a few minutes on these systems. First of all, Tropical Depression 8E. This is our latest system that's formed. A very busy year so far in the eastern Pacific, largely due to El Nino. And these storms really are making it pretty far out into the central Pacific. The forecast for this one, taking it out in that direction. But the good news here is, notice, we think it could become a tropical storm. There's a possibility of that, but more than likely staying a tropical depression, not really strengthening as it moves out to Hawaii in that direction. It's not going to get there. Strong winds at the upper part of the atmosphere should prevent development with this. Now, 91E is a different story. It's to the southeast of where our tropical depression is. That one has a good chance of developing as well, becoming a tropical depression or named storm as it moves really in the wake of this one, but it's going to stay farther to the south. And notice the water temperatures out here, mid-80s, and in some places warmer than that. So the warmest water is really in the Pacific, Steph. That's going to be staying over those waters. Could become a hurricane as it moves out toward the Central Pacific for early next week. Something to keep an eye on. We'll keep you posted. Back to you.
Michael, thank you very much. This morning, people took cover when a tornado hit southwestern Manitoba. Pretty scary. We're going to tell you how some people stayed safe after your local on the 8s. Stand by. 55 past the hour, caught by a gust of wind. A sailing team tried to hang on when their boat suddenly and dramatically capsized. This was in Hamburg, Germany, Saturday during a 9-boat race. The team from Denmark. Fortunately, no one was injured in the incident. Look at them hung on. Doesn't that remind you of Mario Brothers, like old school, when he would like climb on the fence? I haven't played Mario in forever. I don't know if they still have that, but like the original Mario Brothers, there was a point where you climb on the fence, and it just reminds me of that. The crew recovered on Sunday to finish 3rd overall. That's impressive, finish 3rd overall out of 9 boats with a crash like that. And people ran into basements and barricaded themselves when this tornado swept through western Manitoba. Winds gusting 122 miles an hour with multiple vortices. This is from the same system we are tracking into Minneapolis, Des Moines, and Milwaukee this morning. People in the area said it moved fast, letting each know where it headed through social media. There are reports of damaged bridge and some torn up asphalt. So the next 12 hours look like this. And again, here's that system moving through the Midwest. There was one report of a tornado yesterday, but it was mainly hail and wind here in the lower 48. This shifts eastbound. It's not going to be very potent. So that's the good news, that it's not going to be too terrible here. Temperatures in Des Moines and KC, though, into the 90s. St. Louis, you're going to get the heat as well. It's also cranking here into the Northeast. We are going to see that thermometer go on up into the 90s for a lot of us and then really stay there. So we're kind of going to this little hot trend for the extended period here on into the Northeast. So get used to it. The South, nothing to get used to. You've had it. It's summertime here, hot and humid, storms in the afternoon, not a whole lot changing. It is July, August you're going to see, and then we'll start to see those changes coming. And into the South Central region, no rain for Texas. Things are dry. That extends all the way up into Kansas. You're looking good, but also very, very hot. And of course, it is just that stagnant air here. You don't have any sea breeze to really help you out, so it can be extremely hot. Then as we take you into the west, it's dry here. Unfortunately, we could really use the rain. Still just suffering like something terrible in California with that drought. All right, that does it for me. Al's going to wrap up the show. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Al.
Steph, thank you, and thank you for spending your morning with us. Jen Delgado, Jen Carfagno, and Sam Champion. Coming up with, let's change his name to Jen Champion. This way it all fits. Coming up next with AMHQ, they'll continue to track the search for the missing teens off the Florida coast and, of course, have the latest on all the severe weather that's moving through the plains. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Have a great day, everybody.